And we are here with Pastor Greg Young, who we interviewed last year. He is back for CPAC, a little bit incapacitated thanks to a car accident, but here and raring to go. Pastor, nice to see you back at CPAC.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. What's the plans for this year at CPAC?
Well, Peter, we'll be broadcasting live from Radio Row once again, and we'll be here actually this evening, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You can pick it up at the website, PastorGregYoung.com, PastorGregYoung.com, and check for a radio station near you. We're on 62 radio stations now across the country, and so you can just hit the station drop-down list everywhere from Elmira, New York, home of Ernie Davis and the Elmira Express, all the way out to Anaheim and Long Beach, California on KCAA 1050 AM, Denver, Colorado, New Orleans, Louisiana, the Tampa Bay area in Florida, and Ann Arbor, Michigan, and St. Helens, Oregon. Well,
I'm going to have to swing on by. Hopefully you have time to let me promote my new book on the Hail Mary, which I brought with me this year. Well, anyways, Pastor, CPAC 2018, obviously you're doing the broadcasting. What are you expecting to see at this conference this year?
It's going to be an interesting conference, I think, for a number of reasons. 2 years ago, it was a very split conference. We didn't have a candidate at that point, and there was a lot of infighting, if you will, going on. Last year, I felt as though everyone was on page with a great deal of hope and anticipation for the previous year. I think that there's been a lot of good things that have happened in 2017 and the first year of our current president. I think there have been some concerns. One of the things that I think we'll have to see is this most recent move on what appears to be some talk of restrictions on a Second Amendment, and certainly a change in age. If you're going to send young men to fight and make them swear to lay their lives on the line at the age of 18, and yet once again restrict their abilities to be able to partake of those same constitutional rights as a civilian, I think there's going to be individuals going to have concerns about that, and any kind of restriction on our Second Amendment begins to create questions for those of us that are strong Second Amendment proponents.
All right. Now, is there a particular speaker that you're interested in seeing what that person says?
Not specifically. It's going to be a different year for me. Last year, I broadcast 10 hours a day, but I was on different networks, different times of the day, and what have you. Now our program is live 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern across all of our network and all 60-plus stations. So it's actually going to give me the opportunity to be able to go in and actually listen to different folks. I think I'd like to hear what Mike Pence has to say, and I'll be interested to hear what President Trump has to say when he's here, I believe, on Friday.
Now, I'm going to ask you, since I know that you don't have a lot of time today, at least not right now, I want to ask you the questions I'm asking everybody at CPAC.
Sure.
President Trump, year one, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up overall.
So, what has been the number one accomplishment of President Trump this year, as far as you're concerned?
I would have to say, I think the obvious is the economy, and what he has done to unbridle business overall would probably be number one. The jobs and so forth. I think the thing that doesn't get a lot of play that I think is significant is what he's done as it relates to returning America's leadership role on the international stage, and that he's not been afraid to challenge both his Secretary of State and his Defense Secretary when they make statements that are not in alignment with an America First program. The world is a safer place when the United States of America is in the lead. Period. And I think the other thing that doesn't get a lot of play, but it certainly does among evangelicals, is the efforts that he has made to return, his conversation to America as one nation under God. And I think that's significant. Again, as John Adams said, our Constitution is fit only for a moral people. As it's credited to Alex de Tocqueville, he said that when America is good, she'll remain great. If she loses her goodness, she'll lose her greatness. I think that our greatness is being restored by the fact that he is focusing on where our goodness comes from, and that's from God.
All right, what has been your biggest disappointment from President Trump?
I've had concerns at times with regards to some areas that I think that he has wavered, like, for example, the conversation about the Second Amendment that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Now, he's been great when it comes to the issue of abortion and right to life. I'm a little bit concerned about where he's going to stand on the Obergefell decision and the marriage decision. Certainly with Gorsuch, he made a good move with regards to that, but he has also made some appointments, and there have been some things continue that concern me regarding the whole same-sex relationship issue and how that impacts the morality of our nation overall.
Now, 2018 midterm elections, Republicans' big advantage in the Senate because of so many Democrats running in red states. Democrats need 25 seats, I believe, to take over the House. Handicap this for me. Do the Republicans keep both? Do they lose one or the other? Do they lose both? At this point, what do you think the odds are?
I think the biggest thing that Republicans have got to do leading up to the November elections is stay on message regarding economy, regarding securing the border, and with regards to making some kind of movement regarding this health care reform. I think those are the three things that they really have to focus on. I think if they do that we're going to be in pretty good shape. I think that evangelicals are going to be moved also if he stays on tune, as he did when he addressed the shooting in Florida. He quoted a scripture, he brought God into it, he talked about the value of life. Those kinds of things are the kinds of things that are going to stir that particular base. I think that the Democrats, such as Nancy Pelosi coming out and saying that tax reform is unpatriotic, I think you just let them run their mouths. I think you just continue to let them run their mouths, and I think that in and of itself is going to begin to be their downfall.
Now, is there a particular thing that you would advise President Trump to do to aid the Republicans in keeping the House and Senate?
Well, I think what he needs to do is he needs to tell Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan that they need to stop veering to the middle and even veering slightly to the left. I think that they need to hold a firm line to the conservative values that we sent them there to uphold. And I think that if he does that again, he will be able to rally the base. When he veers with them and he veers left, I think that begins to raise concerns. I don't think that you're going to be able to placate certain members within the conservative movement either way, because some have made up their minds with regards to the situation, unfortunately. But I think overall that you've got to stay on message and stay on point with the things that the Republican Party platform that we passed in 2016 is focused on. And I think if you stay on message and stay on point and focus on our economy, focus on liberty, focus on reducing regulations, I think you'll be fine.
All right, and now on DACA. We've had people talk about the possibility of a deal, the wall for the DACA people. Would you be opposed to such a deal? And would such a deal be a game breaker for you if a deal was made? Assuming you got the wall. Now, not a theoretical wall, but an actual wall. If you actually got the wall, would you be willing to go along with a DACA deal?
Well, that's one of those veers that I think potentially is quite problematic. And again, see, what's happening from the left is that you keep redefining what DACA is and who DACA is going to account for. They want you to believe by the commercials that we were talking about unaccompanied children and children that had no choice. But in a lot of these instances, they keep wanting to add to that number and bring more in and bring more in and bring more in. And as I mentioned to you earlier, off camera and off interview, I really believe that this whole illegal immigration issue that we're talking about is a continuation of the Democratic Party's desire to create another form of slavery. And the dangers that they're creating for these individuals coming across the border. They come across through criminal enterprise, they are put into neighborhoods run by criminals, and then their families are destroyed, and they are destroyed by criminal elements that try to recruit their sons into gangs, their daughters into prostitution. And again, I'm not speaking against those that come here that are trying to create a better life, but what they're actually ending up in is just as bad, if not worse, of a situation than the one that they've tried to escape in Mexico, and they're bringing it with them. And that, so to answer your question specifically, I don't think that we fix that problem by legalizing and creating this quote-unquote path to citizenship, because now we're sending a message once again that it's